Hi, and welcome to the Wonkat Weekend Live Chat. Joining me today is the lovely and talented Jamie Lynn Crofts.
Hello, hello. Good.
Hello, and Stephen is still off because he hates me. No, no, Stephen does not hate me. Thankfully, I hope. Um,
That you
so,
know of.
no, he's vacationing, which is good and important, even though we miss him.
Yes.
So, it's been quite a week.
Yeah, it really has, like Tuesday, I was like feeling amazing, more versus Harper, like it was like a big weight had been lifted off my chest, and then like the rest of the week happened.
Yeah, no, it's been oh my God. I feel like we've been just like in literal like SCOTUS hell this entire week.
Yep.
Um which, you gotta come right for us more so I don't have to handle the 'cause really, should I be handling this? I'm not totally sure.
Oh no,
No.
I read your stuff this week. You did a good job.
I tried. Mostly I just yelled a lot. The main thing that I did notice this week, as far as reactions went, is that I think that conservatives have no idea how college admissions work.
Oh, none.
Like, absolutely none at all. Like,
No, I'm pretty
which,
sure that they actually think there's like a little checkbox where you say like white, no.
for real. No, like, it seems like they actually, like, think that, there are clear cut, like, someone is the most qualified, someone is less qualified, and they're like, you know what, we're not going to take the person who's more qualified. We're going to take a black person or another minority who is less qualified than this like highly qualified white man. And that is not actually what happens. Like,
No.
Harvard only takes 1,200 applicants a year. They're all equally
Out of
qualified.
40,000.
Yeah. No, I think it was like 50,000 or something last year. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they do okay, like, getting, like, out of that 40, 50,000 people, I think that they can find, I think it was like, a total of like 148 black students in the last class. Like, I think they can, I think they did okay.
Yep.
But
Well, and with both Harvard and UNC, like if you look at the way that they actually describe their policies, it's
mhm.
like, oh yeah, like we can consider it along with this huge list of 50 other things that we consider. And this is just one small part of them that tells us a student's whole story.
Yeah. Like, it's a tiny, tiny thing. I ended up in an argument with a guy who didn't even know what legacy admissions were.
Oh God. Affirmative action
And
for rich
tried
white
to
people.
explain
And
what?
that's fine. Affirmative action for rich white people,
Yeah,
which is fine.
exactly. Well, I mean, like, the entire like college application process, it like started out as affirmative action for rich white people in particular because they weren't doing as well on the standardized tests as Jewish immigrants and some Catholic immigrants. And they were like, mm, we need our kids to be getting into these schools. So they came up with all like the extracurriculars and all the recommendations so that people would be like, oh, sorry, you got the higher score on the entrance exam, but you don't have like a bunch of recommendations from the fancy rich people that this person knows. And
Yep.
your dad didn't go here. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So it's like, that's all it is. And these people really just, and I think that they sincerely believe it is the thing. Because
A
they
lot of them do.
because it's like they really, really do not like know how the Hi Steven.
Hey, Steven.
Oh my
That's
god. What if he just
fantastic.
like pop surprise guest, the usual co-host of this show. Um oh, I know you don't hate me. I was just kidding. Um
Uh,
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, and like I actually like when I lived in West Virginia, someone who's now I believe like an elected sort of Republican county thing, like very sincerely told me that he believes that white Christian men are the most discriminated against demographic in the country.
They do believe it. Like, I swear to God, I think they actually sincerely believe it because they just have no idea how anything works at all and have this imaginary idea of that they just, and it makes no sense.
No, they
Not in
want to be
the-
discriminated against so that they can yell that they're being discriminated. It's truly baffling. It's truly baffling. And like,
Well,
meanwhile, like, who's gonna shut down the New York Times affirmative action program for mediocre conservative white men? Like,
oh my God.
but no, and the whole thing is just preposterous too. Like, it pretends like it's not the affirmative action decisions pretend like they're not overruling 50 years of precedent, including
Yeah,
a case from 20 years ago, which was not that long ago. That's when I was in college. Oh God, when did I get that old? Um,
same.
uh,
Whatever. Someone was like, "You're 27, right?" last night, and I was like, "Yes, absolutely, sure." Like,
oh, I love those.
mhm. Very nice of them.
But no, it's just truly insane. And like, Justice Jackson's dissent, really got into a lot of it too, which is the fact that like the 14th Amendment was never intended to be race neutral. Like the 14th Amendment came to exist out of the Civil War and was intended to help people who had been enslaved, like
Yeah.
because of their race. Like that was the whole purpose of it. And yet, like, ever since then, the Supreme Court has been like, no, you know what? We actually think that what this constitutional amendment was made to do was protect white people.
Yes.
And like Ian Millhiser, who writes for Vox, did a great like rundown of the history of the Supreme Court's affirmative action jurisprudence, and like even the seminal case from the 60s, where they actually rejected the argument that like it will help benefit people from these historically marginalized groups.
Mm.
And the argument that they accepted was that it benefits college campuses to have diversity, which is true, but also makes it so that all of the Supreme Court's affirmative action jurisprudence is about how it can help white people.
I mean, on the other hand, they're not wrong. It does benefit a college to have like diversity in general, because
Yeah, it
you know,
absolutely does.
but
Having
yeah.
it, if the only people you have in a college are Brett Kavanaugh's, then that's the discussion that the class is going to have.
Exactly. It's going to be a very, very boring and very short discussion. It's going to be like, you know what? Fuck all the other people.
Yep. And people who have never experienced any type of diversity are just going to be sitting around these classrooms debating things like diversity.
and debating. I like beer. Like, discuss.
Well, that's incredibly important and obviously must be discussed in Supreme Court nominee hearings.
But like, I mean, they don't even see like, yes, there's also like an end value to humanity of there being like a variety of people being educated and like learning these particular skills.
Oh
Um,
yeah, well, and like the Fortune 500 companies that submitted amicus briefs talking about how it was important to them for their workforce to be diverse,
well,
even in the interest of capitalism.
well, I mean, I will tell you, and this is like a very like old timey story. So, um, but like my dad worked for Bausch and Lomb, and he was like the diversity champion there, and like because it was the '90s, so it was a white guy, but or it was an Italian guy. It was like that old timey now. But uh, like he had to explain to people like, hey, we sell a lot of different products. You're doing marketing, you need to know about different kinds of people. And so that is like one normal, like totally super capitalistic reason to just, diversify in general, like because it actually benefits you. Um,
Yep. Well, and it was pretty telling too that they accepted that arguments when it comes to military
yeah,
recruiting, and that's it. Kind of gives the whole game away.
it does.
Um,
uh,
yeah, it's just infuriating. Hey, but no, it's just infuriating on every level. It's like the American Medical Association told them about how it literally saves lives
yeah.
to ensure diversity in college students because that's who becomes doctors. And guess what? Like when you look at things like maternal mortality, even
Mhm.
when you adjust for socioeconomic status, there is a racism problem with it.
Yeah,
And like in studies show that new black mothers do better with black doctors. And guess what? We're going to have fewer black doctors now.
yeah.
So great
Well,
job.
it's a very well. They actually said that medical program. I just read something that said medical programs are in fact going to become less diverse, which is really bad. Like, just it's really bad.
Yep.
Oh my
It's
god. Um. So like, it's hard to see like some way of even like well Harvard sent out a memo noting that the people are still allowed to discuss how racism impacts their lives, and that was sort of a hint, like, "Hey, we're going to get around your stupid um, ruling." And Charlie Kirk was having a big huff about that. But the thing is that like these colleges know that it benefits them and that it benefits society, and that it would also just uh, quite frankly, leave them open to discrimination lawsuits
yeah.
without
And
these kinds of things
yeah, and I
usually.
will say that I did see a bunch of schools, like including, I got several emails from my law school talking about how, they will find ways to ensure diversity on their campus that
Yeah.
follows this ruling, and including, more heavily weighing things like socioeconomic status or other, disadvantages that people
Mhm.
have faced and that comes up in their applications. And schools do still have, an important obligation to ensure diversity on their campuses, even like you were just saying, if it's for their own self-interest.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, part of the reason that they have affirmative action is because people have internalized racism,
Yep.
and therefore people are, less likely to like you don't it's hard to screen every single person in the admissions field for their internalized racism. I'm sure that that happens to some degree, but like part of the reason um why we have that is as a stopgap so that they're not discriminating against people even like subconsciously, and therefore not being sued.
Yep.
Just in general, I think it's hilarious that like all these wingnuts think that all like these corporations have DEI initiatives because, they just want everyone to be woke. No, it's because they don't want to fucking get sued, you fucking weirdos. Like,
Yep. Nope. But everything's fine. Everything's great. We just really, really need to worry more about white people and how they might be, hurt by anything that happens in the world, even if it doesn't affect them whatsoever.
yes, yeah.
Like for instance, if they're a fake wedding website
Oh
creator.
god, yeah. Okay, yeah. Moving on to that one. What she had to invent a fake request. No one is asking this lady to do anything. Never.
No, no one has ever paid her to do anything related to a wedding. She never has. No one has ever asked her to, except for a person who she and or her lawyers invented. Um, and this in, Samuel Alito's America means standing to, you know, file a lawsuit challenging a state's public accommodations law. It's great. It's just truly great.
Because
Um,
her art.
yes,
She put her
and,
heart and soul into the graphics.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of defenses of like, this is really only about art. Okay, well, in the last few years, this court has decided that like setting up a fucking website on the
Yeah.
not.com and making a cake are art. So like, what is not art? How is a barista different from someone who
Yeah.
makes a cake? Uh, You know, how is even if you start to think about things like clothing
I was just
design.
gonna say, like, I used to dress people, like, I could say, like, well, that's my personal expression, and I like only. I mean, I wouldn't like I only want to dress white people, or you know,
Yep. And
like
it
that
can
would
even
be insane.
exactly. Exactly. And it's just so easy to extend all of this shit because, and you know, these same people bringing these suits
Hmm.
want more discrimination against everyone, not less. So they're fine with it. They would be more than happy for these cases to also, extend to people who might appear to be gender nonconforming, even if they're not, or
Yeah,
people tomboys. And, we've already seen this within, the trans panic legislation. They're totally fine with, state forced sexual assault of little girls if
yeah,
they don't appear feminine enough.
yeah. Um, I'll tell you, as far as like the retail thing goes, I worked in boutiques where you do smaller size runs, and like people would buy small size runs of things based on like who they think the dress would look good on. So you'd be like, oh, this dress will, only be good on people up to a size 6. So we're only going to get 2, 4, and 6 in this dress. And I always found that personally pretty fucking horrifying, especially since we were also supposed to say, like, oh, like we weren't supposed to, we didn't order the
Right.
clothing in the larger sizes, but that rather, uh, like we already sold it. We sold out of it. I'm sorry. Or I'd go into the back to check,
Hmm.
which, and it wasn't going to be there. And I knew that and it sucked. But, like people could say, oh, I designed this for this particular sort of person and I'm not going to sell it to someone who looks like this because it's about how I think the clothes should look.
Yeah, and you know what? Like pretty soon, this is going to be an enshrined constitutional right of
Mhm.
businesses to discriminate in this way. Like that's what we sort of already have, and they're just gonna keep expanding it in these coming cases.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's the sort of discrimination that even John Roberts is totally happy to do, as long as it happens like slowly over time.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. It has to be gentle and incremental. Um,
So yeah, today it's cakes and fake wedding website designers, and
oh my god. Did you see her? She's like,
I thought your description of her was perfect. What did you call her? Like marzipan in human form or something?
yes, she's sentient marzipan. Like I literally get a toothache listening to her talking. You're just so sweet. And I don't hate gay people. I
Not
just love
not
the
at all.
Lord.
I just wanted to make I felt the need to make it clear on my website that I would never work for gay people, because that's the thing too. Like no contractor is required to take every
Exactly.
every contract, any potential business that comes through the door. And she easily just could have said no to people whose wedding websites she wanted to design, assuming, she ever got someone who wanted that from
Yeah.
her, and not been discriminatory about it. But it was so important to her that she was able to say on her website, no gays allowed.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Apparent like I did read in one thing that prior to this lawsuit, she didn't even have anything Jesus-y on her website to begin with. Like it was just like a regular website. Now it's all like, I love the Lord. And all of her work is for churches. So like little
Well,
something.
and now she's going to lean into it. She's going to, be on Fox News and everything else,
Oh, absolutely.
because we just really have to
I don't even
celebrate
know if they
people.
can listen to her. Like, oh my God. No one has ever, in the history of the world, no one has ever thought they were more precious than this woman thinks she is. She's just like, I am. It's creepy. Like,
it's all just wild. I, yeah, I just it's one of those things that like the more I think about it, the angrier I get, and the more I just end up stuttering because I can't get words out of my mouth about. And it's like, it's great. Earlier in this year, we got, what I was calling in the mifepristone cases, fuck these whores, I hope they die standing. And
Yeah.
now we have, I just really hate gay people so much that I invented a fake gay couple to discriminate against standing. And that's where we are in 2023.
I mean, it's all clearly such like bullshit, and the Alliance Defending Freedom is just like going around looking for people. Like they probably just like send out a general thing like, "Hey, any graphic designers love Jesus?"
Bonus, do you hate gay people?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they're Uh,
But it's this same reasoning too, like, and like I was already saying, it's very clearly, not only going to be applied to queer people, but people who could be perceived to be queer, even if they're not, or gender nonconforming or whatever. But it's not going to end there either. Like, this is the exact same reasoning that people use to try to get out of like serving people of other races and other religions in cases of public accommodation. And I'm pretty sure there are at least 5 members of this court who would be happy to take a new look at that too.
yeah, I mean, well, the whole Bob Jones thing.
Yep. I was just reading the old Bob Jones University cases earlier today because I started to go off in my mind about rage about this fucking 303 creative case. And yep, and sure enough, I also went back and checked, and they didn't even like officially rescind the interracial thing until after W went there.
No, it was 2000.
Yeah. W went there on a
2000.
campaign trip.
Yeah.
Yep. And I also, what was really fun too is their policy didn't just say like you can't be in an interracial relationship. It also said like you could be expelled if you associate with groups that advocate for equality for interracial couples. Like truly, truly batshit fucking insane.
Yeah. And what's to stop someone from saying, "Hey, my version of Christianity does not believe in interracial marriages."
Yep, and there are absolutely people who do feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, they still exist. Like,
yep.
There was actually some lady recently who there's a recent thing where a lady was like, "Oh, like she ran a chapel or something, or she ran a wedding venue," and she was like, "No, no interracial marriages for us, because that's what my religion says, my version of Christianity." And like, yeah, she would have just like, I mean, I don't know, like officially legally, but it seems like she would have just as much standing as this broad did for her.
Well,
like,
I mean, she could even make up a fake interracial couple. and bring the suit through the system because that's how we operate these days.
Yeah.
As long as you're
anything.
As long as you're trying to subjugate other people, standing.
Yeah.
Trying to help people, no standing.
I'm seriously considering like, what can I do wrong? Like, you know what? I don't want to do some kind of art involving, and like, I don't want Christians because I'm an atheist.
Yep.
So I don't think that I should have to accommodate Christians.
Yep.
Or Republicans. But actually, one of the things that someone was saying, I forget where, was like, "Oh, well, what if someone didn't want to? What if a gay person didn't want to make a website for like?" Oh, my air turned off. It was very loud.
Oh yeah, no, that was in Gorsuch's opinion.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, which like, no, because that's not a category.
Yeah. It was like, what if a gay person didn't want to make a website for a nonprofit that wants to discriminate against gay people.
Because obviously
And
they
it's,
would go and hire
and I'm like, well, neither bigotry nor political opinion are protected classes.
yeah,
So
like
no, this actually has absolutely fucking nothing to do with that. Not to mention that the hypothetical gay person that Gorsuch made up, just like, his plaintiff's hypothetical gay couple. Um, sorry, ADD moment. I lost where I was going with that one.
relatable. I do it all the time.
Lost the thread there. Oh no, but now I remember. Alita's hypothetical gay person didn't even have a religious objection. It was just like, what if he doesn't want to make a website for bigots? That has absolutely fuck all to do with this fucking case. But this is the type of reasoning that our fucking high court just
Has
spews.
anyone ever actually even been sued for, hey, no, this person is not respecting my bigoted beliefs against them in particular? Like, that's never been a lawsuit, I don't think. Like,
No. And once again, contractors have no obligation to accept every single customer that asks them to do work.
I mean, it's ridiculous to even pretend as though that is the case. Like, that's never even, it's not a thing.
Nope. And like, granted, are the people bringing these cases probably would be fine with many forms of forced labor, but that's a whole other discussion.
What about the whole this was also the case with the whole Santa thing, right? With the KKK, the white children dressed up, the black Santa and the white children dressed up as the KKK. I think that
Oh,
was
I don't know that I know
okay.
this
Hold
one.
on, let me. It was like when it first when they were first discussing it, there was all I think it was Clarence Tom. I forget who. No, I forget who it was. Might have been Leto. Uh, Tried to use the example of uh, a Christmas, like a Santa Claus in like a department store or mall, being like, oh, sorry. I think it's okay. It started out with someone saying, "Okay, what if Santa Claus was racist and was like no black kids on Santa's lap?" And then I think it was Alito was like, "Well, what if it was a black Santa and the children were dressed up like the KKK?" And then they had to explain to him like,
Fuck.
"Okay, outfits are not protected by any statute. Like that's not even like there could hypothetically be black kids dressed up as the KKK. Like that's
Yeah.
just
No, I think, making people donning Klan robes a protected class is just a brilliant fucking idea.
like yeah, no, truly that is yeah. I don't think there's ever been a hey, I was discriminated against for wearing a white sheet. Like no,
I'll bet that we could get at least an Alito dissent joined by Clarence Thomas and or vice versa for creating such a protected class.
you know what? At this point, I would not put it past them. Like I feel like the entire gist of this week was we got to protect white people from discrimination and literally no one else.
Yep.
Heterosexual white people, I guess, but
Well, yeah, I mean, we must protect this straight white patriarchy at all costs.
yeah,
Is basically the judicial philosophy of the Supreme Court.
I mean, I really I can't even with it. I also I mean, this wasn't a decision this week, but apparently, they're going to be also considering whether or not it's unconstitutional to deprive people convicted of domestic violence from having guns.
Mm-hmm. And I have a bad feeling about which way that one is going to go too.
Yeah, no, that's not.
That argument is why we here in Wisconsin do not have any red flag laws. And it's great because not only are women in domestic violence situations at least 5 times more likely to end up murdered if their abuser has a gun. A history of domestic violence is also the single best predictor of future mass violence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is definitely. I, I mean, I hate that I have like absolutely no hope whatsoever that they will not be, being like, hey, you know what? Definitely give guns for wife beaters and also stalkers.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. And frankly, that's when I feel like John Roberts is down with, and even a 5-4 court wouldn't save us from.
yeah,
Although, with this court being, that one vote worse than the previous iteration of the Roberts court, like they could go full batshit in even
yeah.
a way, that's like John Roberts was never on our side, but like he wants to protect the institution, and so he wants to take away your rights, small portions at a time. Whereas the rest of them are just like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it and be legends, man. And
Really, that's like it does feel like that's the philosophy behind everything. Like, let's do it and be legends.
yep,
Like who gives a fuck? Um,
we're
uh,
gonna quote 17th century witch burners, and that's that. And you have to listen because this is hell.
because they're like, we're only going to interpret like, gun laws as like people back in the 1700s would have interpreted gun laws, and they probably wouldn't have cared about people being victims of domestic violence. It was legal to beat your wife back then, so
All
why
right.
not?
Yeah, it's gonna be even worse than the Heller and McDonald cases were, and those were already really fucking bad.
I mean, like, I mean, we just had like another mass shooting like last night. We're just gonna keep doing this forever because they want their guns. They want and
Yep.
it'll be even worse if people convicted of domestic violence can have guns. It's like
And
apparently
it's
it
so
came from a guy who was like had his gun taken away because he was convicted of domestic violence and then was involved in 5 shootings with guns, and he won a case being like, oh, he shouldn't have been like charged extra for having guns when he wasn't supposed to have it because he should have those guns. This is a man we want to have guns, obviously. Like,
yep. Yep, and even though like those terrible fucking Heller and McDonald decisions, like this is exactly the type of thing that those decisions fucking pretended that court was going to leave in place.
yeah,
Like that, no, no,
no,
absolutely.
no. I mean, I feel like they're not even feigning like, oh, hey, we might do something that's not terrible sometimes. Like
Well, they
even
occasion,
the voting law or whatever, I forget, the Alabama decision, like even that was like, well, we'll leave it in place for now. They won't be able to gerrymander so that like, you know, only like white people's votes count now, but we can revisit that in the future when Alabama is less racist because that will happen at some point, surely. Like,
yeah, but like also I just have to be relieved that that case and more came out the way that they did
yeah,
too.
no,
E- Just because like the alternatives were so
yeah.
fucking scary.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not grateful. It just feels like they definitely like left the door open for this is just temporary with a lot of this,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they did that in more too, but it was also like, what, basically more was, kind of left the door open for like maybe the Supreme Court might want to decide a presidential election in the future, but also like they already did that and we
yeah,
know that they do that. So like No, it's not great that that made it into the opinion,
Yeah,
but also like we already fucking knew that you would do this even before the court was as insane as it is now.
because the court literally did decide a presidential election.
Yep,
There was
like been there, done that.
like, they were like, we have to stop the vote counting because it'll interfere with George Bush's belief that he is president. Like, it's like I forget what the exact wording was, but like I know that I used to have it memorized at one point, but
There was
like
some really batshit stuff in there. Although
like
I learned that you can also use it as a good equal protection case if need be, if one county in a state is doing really stupid shit and the rest of the counties are not doing it, because I did that in West Virginia, actually won Bush versus Gore. I stood up in court and said, Your Honor, this is a clear violation of Bush v. Gore, and I got a great opinion granting my
no,
point.
oh my god, okay, we need details on this. Okay, we
So,
need
yeah, so West Virginia, this was in like this was pre-2016, so probably the law change had been a couple of years before that. The state legislature enacted an online voter registration system through the Secretary of State. It wasn't like super controversial especially because it was pre-2016, like as it was being pushed through. It had bipartisan support, et cetera. And all of the counties immediately started using it except two. And then by the time it got closer to the election, it was except one. So West Virginia has 55 counties. And in one county, the county clerk was like, nope, I'm just not going to use the online voter registration system. But people would like fill it out and think that they were
yeah.
registered.
Oh shit, yeah.
And then she would send them something being like, Jake, hey, here are all these extra things you have to do. So I sued her when I was still at the ACLU in the run up to the 2016 election, the county clerk who wouldn't do it. Because it was a clear violation of Bush v. Gore, which, among its stupid shit, says that within a state, counties have to be uniform. And so, like, one county can't just, like, go rogue and decide to do whatever the fuck it wants if it doesn't match the rest of the state. And that's exactly what was happening. And it was actually it was a relatively easy oral argument in federal
I
court.
mean, that's kind of amazing. That's
Yeah, so
definitely lemons into lemonade, I guess. To
yep. It was great. And actually, I had the pleasure of litigating that case with Dale Ho, who is now Judge Dale Ho, as of a couple of weeks ago. A great, so happy that he was confirmed by the Senate finally. He's been running the ACLU's Voting Rights Project for years.
that is awesome news.
And he is now in the Eastern District of New York. So congratulations again to Dale. Judge
Yay!
Ho.
Yes, that is awesome. We like to have good judges. Just
Yes, more voting rights more pro voting rights lawyers on the federal bench, please.
like and just non-garbage judges in general. Like that would be super great.
That would be
Um,
pretty great. And also if, we had a judiciary chair who wasn't Dick Durbin. But that I guess is probably a rant for another day since we're here to talk about SCOTUS. But we both know that you and I can go off about blue slips and
yeah,
democratic fecklessness.
yeah, like
But yeah, what else? Oh, what was the other terrible Supreme Court case? Oh, student loans.
loans, yeah. So Doc actually covered this one, so I didn't cover that one. But it sucks.
It's great. No, and the whole opinion, like the reasoning is based on John Roberts. I think that one was Roberts' opinion. I don't know.
I don't
The
know.
author of that opinion,
That was all
which
Doc.
who in my head is John Roberts, but I'm not 100. I read it, but I just don't remember. But the opinion hinges on like whether when the statute says that the Department of Education can modify loans, that means they can modify loans. And the Supreme Court said, no, the word modify doesn't actually mean modify. And that was pretty much that. And that was also another stupid standing case too, because like this is just the year that we fucking are beating standing to death with a broom.
Yeah.
And they actually dismissed one of the challenges for lack of standing, and that one would have been truly absurd because it was like people who didn't qualify who thought they had standing because they didn't qualify. And the court actually said no to that one, thank God. But they said that like they said that the state of Missouri had standing, and they based that on Mohila, which is one of the big student loan, the actual like providers who do it for federal loans. My loans are through them now. And Mohila stands for like Missouri, blah blah blah. And it, but it's not. Mohila did not join the suit, and Mohila is very specifically not the state of Missouri. um, and that we just ignored that to say that the state has standing because of this loan provider that did not want to be part of its challenge too.
Well, then, yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? And like with that, it really just feels like we just don't want to do student loan forgiveness. We're gonna come up with a reason why. Um, like it didn't
Yep.
even feel like there was like any like real. It's not like, oh no, we really do feel like there's a constitutional issue here. It's more just like, we think this is bad because we'd
Yep.
rather,
We need to make it very clear that we are the judicial arm of the Republican Party and not,
yeah,
in fact, a high court that looks even pretends to look impartially at anything. We will just impose our personal policy preferences whenever the fuck we can. That is where
fuck
we're at.
understand the court. Like,
We need to do fucking something because, we are only a couple of years into this fucking court.
yeah,
And already I am now living in a state
they're
where
all
abortion is illegal.
yeah,
It's legal, if we need to make sure that businesses, can discriminate against LGBTQ people, like when am I going to get a nice little badge to wear to identify myself as bisexual so that for-profit companies can decide whether or not they want to serve me?
yeah, yeah. Um, it's actually incredible because like you look at like the like old footage of like Lester Maddox and whatnot in the South, and these people are making the same arguments. Like they're still saying the same thing as like these fucking like some crazy ass dude screaming about how he doesn't like want to serve chicken sandwiches to black people. Like they all sound like that to me. Like they just do not come up with new material. They just keep recycling it. Like, you know, it seemed for a while that like they were gonna like back off on gay people, but then whew,
Just
went
kidding.
yeah, it was like all the way back. Um, the second they realized that they didn't really have anything else to sell people because, the whole like immigrant thing was getting stale. Like they just like it's like they go on, you know, just it's like, okay,
That
we're gonna attack women for a while. Oh, we're gonna attack gay people for a while. We're gonna attack trans people. Now we're gonna go for immigrants. Like,
Yeah, no, they kind of like pick different groups, and it's like, hate week for like each
yeah,
each group at a time. Like yeah, you're right. We're first we're gonna focus on women, and then you know what, actually, let's move from women to the queers. Just kind of bounce around. Make sure
oh
make
my
sure that
god,
make sure that we hit everyone's personal bigotry, so that like all of the bigots, no
all
matter.
included.
We
Did
need to
you
make sure that the racists and the homophobes like really feel togetherness.
Yes, yes. We need them to like bond. I mean, they're usually the same people, conveniently enough. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
ends up
that
being basically a circle. Like,
it is pretty much.
oh my god, did you see the Ron DeSantis commercial?
I did not.
I posted about it yesterday. It is the most insane thing I like one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Basically, it's just like they like have this like all these like clips of Donald Trump saying not mean things about gay people and trans people and like being like, I would let Caitlyn Jenner use my bathroom. Like, and they're like, look at all the nice things he's saying. And then they, switch over to Ron DeSantis and they're like, he's basically evil. Like they're like using actual like headlines being like, Ron DeSantis is basically Satan. And he's all like looking powerful. And then there's like a random bodybuilder and then American Psycho. Like, it's like
Jesus
he hates
fucking
homos
Christ.
and he's a cannibal. Like, what? Like,
Jesus fucking Christ. And the thing is like, not that long ago, even the same people who were pushing for things like state bans on gay marriage would never have done such a thing. And some of them even would have attacked other people for doing so, even as they push those policies. Like the way, the disgusting way that the rhetoric around politics has changed
mhm.
is just every fucking day. I feel like I'm being hit over the head with someone's bigotry.
Like they're just like, I'm a giant asshole. Isn't that awesome? Like that's really like
Own the libs.
that's yeah, that's like all they're selling. Like, hey, I am the biggest jerk. I will be the most horrible to the people that you don't like. And that's really all they can do because like outside of like, for the most part, the vast majority of things that conservatives are pissed off about are not things that can be legislated. I mean,
Or that
they're
should be legislated.
trying. They're certainly trying, but like their main issue is people are saying things I don't like on Twitter. Like, make it stop. Like that's really like
Yep. Oh, just wait for Elon's presidential.
I
Oh
mean,
wait. Oh, he's thank God. Wait, he's not a natural born citizen, is he?
he's not, no.
Oh,
No.
thank God. Unfortunately, he has like 500 fucking children because he thinks he's fucking Charlemagne.
Well, one of whom who's not talking to him. Like,
At least one.
yeah. Yeah. I don't they would probably try and change the law for him because like nothing means anything.
Yeah.
They have no actual principles of any kind. They're just like, how do I hurt people that I don't like the most? Like, how do I
No, it is. It's the basis for their policy philosophy, their legal philosophy. It truly just is like, what can we do that hurts the most people? We're
yeah,
in.
like,
Cool.
our biggest problem is that Bud Light did SpawnCon with someone we don't like. Like, it's you know, I,
And it's a person who they don't like because they are obsessed with other people's genitalia.
yeah, yeah. So, but just to clarify, it's okay for a business to discriminate against people who are gay and are having a same-sex wedding, but it's not okay for a business to not discriminate against trans people. That's
Yep.
not okay. They've got some very interesting priorities just in general.
Yep. Everything's great.
Yep, super.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah, no, it's pretty much a nightmare. And
Yep.
it's only gonna get worse when domestic violence people convicted of domestic violence have guns.
Yep. Got to make sure that wife beaters are recognized as a protected class along with the kids in clan robes.
I know, like, well, I mean, we wouldn't want anyone to deny a wife beater a website for their wedding, like, 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 now that would be horrible. That would be,
Clearly,
yeah.
clearly, and like frankly, we should make it a requirement that such a person receive firearms as a wedding present.
Because why not? Maybe they'll
You know,
be a good guy with a gun. You don't know, except for how you do.
you know
Um,
what? Like, if their interpretation of originalism was that every fucking American gets gifted a fucking Revolutionary War musket on their 18th birthday, I would actually be okay with that.
go to town.
Because they did not have the sort of fucking mass murder weapons that we produce today.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like that's actually kind of what it meant. Like the well-regulated part was that the United States government was supposed to supply the arms because they didn't have a standing army.
Yep.
Correct? Like they didn't have the National Guard. They were opposed to having a standing army, so they were like everyone's just going to be ready to go at any point now. Like
Yeah, but our Second Amendment jurisprudence has decided not to acknowledge that particular clause of the Second Amendment about the well-regulated militia. We just kind of do a little like a little, we'll have a little number for it, and there'll be a paragraph that doesn't actually say anything, and then we'll move on.
no, it doesn't. I mean, they only spent like many, many, many days debating how to word this particular amendment. But yeah, they just put it
It's
in there to confirm that God said that everyone should have all of the weapons because that's their
yeah,
new thing, natural rights. People,
God.
God gave people a natural right to AR-15, as many AR-15s as they can strap to their body while walking into a Starbucks.
I just had a flashback to me like yelling at census speakers in law school who were blathering on about natural rights. But yeah, I would sometimes go to their events and eat the free pizza and like ask angry questions of the speaker.
I'm all for free pizza. And
Well, because all the rich people are, fed such douchebags, they were really well funded. And so they were the ones who always had like deep dish and sprinkles cupcakes. And so, like, yeah, I'll go yell at some dickhead speaker for cupcakes and pizza.
I don't fuck with deep dish. I live in
Oh,
Chicago and I don't fuck with it. Um,
boo.
I really like Lou Malnati's salad dressing though. Like I would go there for
Oh,
that.
they do have a good salad.
Their salad dressing is like the best salad dressing ever. And I'm not even usually like that big on salad dressing. Usually like an oil and vinegar and salt and pepper kind of lady, but oh, Lord, yeah. I think I'm actually really hungry. What's happening? I haven't
I know
eaten.
my mind started to wander off to pizza there
I
for a
know. I'm like,
second.
I have pizza in the fridge right now from Pizza Metro, which is like, see, that's what I like, the super thin kind. And
I
we are,
recently
pardon?
I recently discovered that Milwaukee style pizza is a thing, and it's like super duper like cracker thin crust.
Yeah,
It's
people
good.
also,
I tried a
people
local
just
place. It was good.
oh, sorry, we were like talking at the same time. People always say that, like, oh, the real Chicago pizza is the cracker crust thing from like at like pubs, and I'm like, I don't. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. I like my regular. Actually, before we end this, I'm gonna kind of amusing pizza plug. There was years ago a guy who lived on pizza for like an entire year and ate pizza all around the country. And his favorite pizza was from Rochester, New York, where I used to be from.
Nice.
And it was Pontillo's, which is like kind of now, but back then it was fantastic, and we were very proud of our uh, pizza. Yeah, but I don't like most Chicago pizza. Usually the
Boo.
crust is like I don't know. Well,
I don't really discriminate against different types of pizza.
yes.
I embrace all pizza.
There's some kind of weird pizza with what's the pizza with raw cheese on it?
Oh, yeah, there was some of that in West Virginia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like they put like a pile of shredded cheese on top of the
Yes.
pizza, which like seems terrifying. I don't like, and I love cheese, but
Like I had it once and like it was fine, but I don't know that I would call it pizza. It's just like, yeah, like it's carbs and cheese and tomato sauce, so like it still
yeah,
tastes fine.
yeah.
But,
It seems like a really like excessive lunchable. Like
yeah, yeah. If and like now, see now I'm like thinking about my definition of pizza, like this is how law school breaks your fucking brain.
yeah,
Because now in my head I'm like, well, what does count as pizza? And I'm like, ooh, maybe there should be like I would say Twitter debate, but like RIP to that site. Anyway, at one point we were talking about the Supreme Court. Pizza is also important.
It's very, very important.
Oh, and like that also, I was thinking like let them eat pizza in my head, which reminded me that I don't even remember which of the cases. I think it was one of the ones John Roberts wrote this week, one of the bad ones, where he actually like invoked the fucking French Revolution. And it makes no sense in the context of any of the cases, but it was definitely in there.
I'm trying to like figure out which one it would be even.
I have a note of it somewhere.
I don't honestly like I've got nothing. Like, oh, would it guillotine discrimination somehow? I don't know.
And it was like a Scalia homage because of course it fucking was. I hate them all. I fucking hate them all.
Like, truly two of the most embarrassing Italians on earth, other than DeSantis. Well, we have a very long list. We do, unfortunately. I'm actually rewatching Real Housewives of New Jersey right now, so I'm like, Jesus Christ, my people. But we do make good food and we do make good pizza, so that's what we got. We have but terrible Supreme Court justices. Like,
Yeah.
I'm all for a decrease in vowels on the Supreme Court now. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Clearly, we're getting a little delirious.
We lost the thread.
Time. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today, Jamie. Love your guts and miss you around the site. Come and hang out anytime you like.
Thank you. I'm sure I will. And I've been like angrily like scribbling notes about all of these cases, so perhaps I'll have something for y'all.
Do it. All right.
All right.
See you guys later.
Good to be here.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, bye.